boy Corey here, coming at you with a little bit of analysis I have from right after the NFL draft this year. It's 2019. Draft just ended a few hours ago. I've had time to process it. Wanted to kind of give you guys my feelings and thoughts about it. I love it. I'm super excited about what we did today and over the last few days. First of all, I'll start with the first day. We took Christian Wilkins, and for about 10 minutes, I was actually pretty pissed off about taking Christian Wilkins. Not because of him, but because we had Dwayne Haskins available at the time. And I was pretty high on Dwayne Haskins coming into this year. I did not expect him to fall all the way down to Miami. And when he did, I thought for sure we were going to take him. He seems to fit the system really well. He's short and intermediate passer, very smart, cerebral. All that good stuff that will fit the Chad O'Shea offense, and I thought he'd be a good fit for us. So I was a little upset when we didn't take him, but when I calmed back down, I realized we got one hell of a player in Christian Wilkins. The dude is a beast. He's an amazing person. He's funny. He's energetic. He's a great leader. He's got it all on the field and off the field. He might not have been the most talented player available at the time, in my personal opinion, but everything else that he brings to the table makes him a slam dunk pick, and I absolutely love Christian Wilkins. He's basically another Minkah Fitzpatrick, but on the defensive line. I love the pick, and I'm very excited about what he'll bring to the future. He's going to be a very versatile pick. He can slide inside and outside. From when I watch Christian Wilkins, I see somebody who's really good at penetrating gaps and using his quickness and explosiveness off the line of scrimmage to penetrate gaps and cause havoc in the backfield. He's not going to win by two gapping all the time. So, we'll have to work around that and plan around that. But, his work ethic, I'm sure he'll improve in everything that we ask him to, and he'll be a mainstay for years to come, I imagine. Then, the biggest news was not actually our first round pick, which is kind of crazy to think about, but in the second round, Miami made a trade, and we traded from pick 48 back to pick 62 with the New Orleans Saints. In that trade, we gave them our fourth rounder this year, and they gave us pick 62 and a 2020 second round pick. They moved up 14 spots and got a fourth rounder and gave us a second round pick next year. It was an awesome deal. We killed that deal for Miami. It was amazing. Then we followed that up by trading pick 62, a future fifth rounder, for Josh Rosen. Yes, Josh Rosen. Kyler Murray went number 1 overall to the Cardinals, which meant that Josh Rosen had to be dealt. We had a lot of leverage in that because Josh Rosen wasn't going to want to stay there, and the longer they kept him, the more problems they can cause in the locker room and between the two quarterbacks. Some people thought we had so much leverage that this was actually a bad deal for Miami. Makes no freaking sense to me because we got a franchise-changing quarterback potentially. Obviously, he had a bad year last year, but he was on the worst team in the NFL. One of the worst setups I've ever seen for a quarterback entering the NFL. He had no offensive line, no weapons outside of David Johnson. It was a horrible setup. I personally had Josh Rosen ranked as my second overall quarterback last year. I had Baker Mayfield number 1. There are a lot of scouts, including scouting type personalities, that had Josh Rosen number 1 overall on the board last year, or as a quarterback last year, and including Daniel Jeremiah, Matt Miller, and others. It just goes to show you what he can do. If you watch his college tape, he's a very talented passer. He's probably the best pure passer that came out of the last two drafts. He has his problems. He's obviously not very mobile. He can get a little antsy in the pocket and make some bad decisions. Throws off its back foot flat-footed sometimes. Doesn't make the smartest decisions at times, and he's a little bit slightly built, so he can get injured a little bit. But he's very smart. He's accurate in the intermediate and short areas of the field. He has a very strong arm. It's not elite like Patrick Mahomes level, but he's got a good arm. And like I said, he's a very smart quarterback. So he will fit Chad O'Shea's offense very well. And for me, we turned pick 48, a fourth rounder, and a future fifth rounder into Josh Rosen and a future sixth rounder. So we just moved our sixth round up a second rounder, up one draft, and then gave up a fourth and a fifth for Josh Rosen. Like, come on, guys, that's a fantastic deal. Not to mention, Josh Rosen's only going to be making about $2 million per year while he's in Miami for the next 3 years. And then we have a fifth-year option if we want to keep him for that fifth year. Everybody's worried about, does this stop us from getting a quarterback in 2020? Or if he's, they're worried about that kind of thing. Well, if he sucks, you can still go get a quarterback. We have one first, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 2 fourths, 1 fifth, 2 sixths, and 2 sevenths next year, I believe. So we have like 13 picks next year, and including 2 picks in almost every round after the first. So if we need a quarterback next year, we have plenty of ammo to go up and get him. So I think Josh Rosen can be the future of the franchise. I personally believe that. If you don't worry too hard. It's a flyer. We barely give up anything, and we have a chance at a future quarterback. It shows teams, it shows the locker room that we're not just tanking, that this season matters to us. So nobody talked about that today, but, that's another positive in my opinion. And speaking of people and what they've been talking about today, everybody's been roasting it. Our freaking beat reporters, 2 in particular, I'm not going to use their names, but 2 of them in particular have been talking all kinds of smack on this trade and saying that, it doesn't make sense and it's a waste of our resources and we gave up too much and Chris Grier got worked, and it's crazy to me. And then what's funny is the national media, who normally hates Miami, has been praising the crap out of us. They can see it. These other guys, our beat reporters, have been following a narrative for a few months now where we're tanking for Tua, we're tanking for Tua. And this goes directly in the face of that. And so it seems like it's a personal narrative that these guys are trying to fight against, or fight for. Doesn't make much sense to me, but again, that's not my job. It's not my place to, discuss what their professionalism. So I'll leave that alone. But Josh Rosen to me was a slam dunk. I love the pick. I'm excited for his future here in Miami. People were talking about he's a bad leader too, a bad teammate, and a bunch of other of his teammates came out and congratulated him. A few of the Dolphins teammates congratulated him. Chris Grier and Brian Flores had a press conference after the draft and said that they talked to multiple people close to Rosen, and other people actually called them to tell them how great of a person he is. And a lot of the people that are in the Arizona, apparently some people in the Arizona organization, said a lot of this talk that's out there in the media is a complete BS. Deion Buchanan, who was a safety linebacker for the Cardinals 2 years ago, or last year when he was with the Cardinals, came out and said it's complete BS, and he doesn't know what the hell people are talking about. He's a great leader. Josh Rosen actually put out a goodbye thank you video to the Cardinals and their fans and said thank you so much. He congratulated Kyler Murray and he said you're going to be amazing and I'm happy for you. And even at the very end of the video offered Kyler Murray his apartment. He said, hey, if you need a 2-bedroom apartment in downtown or whatever, I got the hookup for you. And he congratulated him. He said he's super excited to come to Miami and play. To me, I don't buy into the buzz behind it all. I can get why people are worried about his locker room presence and all that. But everything that's happened in this whole process, to me, it shows him to be a good leader, or at least a decent enough leader and a good teammate. So, again, I'm very excited about the pick. Then, in the third round, we did what we absolutely needed to do, and we got an offensive lineman. We took Michael Dieter from Wisconsin. He's a kind of do-it-all guy. He played 54 straight games for Wisconsin, and he played at least 10 games at 3 different positions. I believe it was center, left guard, and left tackle. Very smart player, very athletic for his size. He's very well. His fundamentals are very, very good, and he gets out in space and he eats up linebackers and secondary people in space. He's going to be very important for the versatility on the offensive line. I believe he comes in and he starts at guard right away, which is great. We need offensive linemen to protect Rosen. As I said, he's not very mobile and he's kind of a slightly built dude, so we really do need to protect him. We can't have an Arizona offensive line like last year. I do think our staff was better than Arizona's, so they'll figure out a way to protect him a little bit better. But it was a great pick by Michael Dieter. I loved the pick. It was fantastic. Then we did trade fourth round pick to like as part of that trade with the Saints to get the future second, and so we didn't have a fourth round pick. In the fifth round, we took Andrew Van Ginkel. He's a outside linebacker that I think also played at Wisconsin. He looks kind of like a mini Chase Winovich. He has long blonde hair, flows in the wind when he's running around. He's a little bit slightly built compared to Chase Winovich, but he showed a ton of promise in 2017 and 2018. I think he was dealing with some injuries. PFF had his pass rushing grade as elite, I believe, in 2017. So he's got promise. I'm excited about Van Ginkel. At the time, I didn't really know much about him. I've watched a little bit of tape. Might have been a reach, but he's going to play that Van Noy role that the Patriots had Van Noy playing in New England. So to me, I'm trusting this staff. They have a system that they've done successfully for years in New England. It seems that they're rebuilding it down here. They're taking the guys that will fit their system, even if it's not necessarily the best talent available at the time. I like that. I trust it. I'm trusting this staff more than I've trusted any of these previous staffs. I like the way we built it. In the sixth round, we took Isaiah Prince, a right tackle from Ohio State. He's huge. I think he's like 6'6" and 330 or something. Has fundamental issues. Some dudes from PFN, Ryan Roscoe and Brett Lagasse, have had altering opinions on him. I trust them both, so it's kind of like, how am I going to feel about the guy? Both of them basically said he is a project. Ryan is not very hopeful. He thinks he's not a very good pick. He was pretty upset about the pick. Brett likes the pick, thinks that he could develop into a really solid right tackle in a few years. To me, we don't have Dante Scarnecchia like the Patriots do. They turn random offensive linemen into really good offensive linemen. But a big part of that, in my opinion, is Dante Scarnecchia. He's the best offensive line coach that I've ever seen, maybe of all time. We don't have that. So are we going to be able to turn a project right tackle like that into a really good player? We'll have to see. But I'm not going to argue with bringing in the guy that our coaches think they can develop. And, only at the very least, he's depth on the offensive line, which we absolutely needed. And he was a sixth rounder. What are you going to do? Then in the seventh round, we took two people to play in the backfield. We took a fullback. I think his name is Chandler Cox, a fullback, which makes sense because the Patriots have used fullbacks for quite a few years now. They kind of zig when the rest of the league's zagging, and they find mismatches in sub packages all the time. So apparently this guy was the best fullback in the college football ranks, and so we brought him in the seventh round. I'm not going to argue he's going to be a role player. Yeah, at the very least, it's a fullback on some short yardage gain, and it's a seventh round pick. I liked it. I thought it was a smart pick. Sixth and seventh round are kind of finding role players or special teams players. So then the last pick that we had was Myles Gaskin. I watched him quite a bit and play. He's a running back as well. He highly productive. I'll say that. I don't really know much about his tape. I haven't looked into him too much, but I do remember watching him sometimes, and I was impressed when I did watch him. He's not going to blow you away. He's not going to be a Saquon Barkley, a Zeke, a Gurley, but he seems like a solid running back. And Miami has a history of developing these running backs, so I'm pretty excited about, getting that backfield squared away and adding pieces that, we haven't had in Miami in years, like a fullback and, a third running back that's going to be really good. I'm excited about that. So overall, we got Christian Wilkins, Josh Rosen, Michael Dieter, Van Ginkel, Chandler Cox, Isaiah Prince, Myles Gaskin. And that was Andrew Van Ginkel. Overall, I love this draft. I wasn't overly excited with the guys in the third day, but the first 2 days, Dieter, Rosen, and Wilkins, I was so in love with. I gave our grade an A. I'm very excited about this future. We also added a second round pick next year. So on top of all this stuff that I was really happy about, we added to our future draft capital. If Rosen doesn't work out, we have even more draft capital to go get a quarterback. So overall, I loved it. I love to hear your guys' opinions. Hit me up. We'll talk about it. I'll see you then. Peace.